No one was ready for what happened next. The courtroom was already buzzing with anticipation, but when the doors swung open and Will Smith walked in, alone, unannounced, the entire room fell silent. No legal team, no media handlers, just Will. Even the judge looked stunned. It wasn't just his presence, it was the weight he carried, the way he moved, like a man who had been silent for far too long and wasn't afraid anymore. Until that moment, Will's name had only existed in the shadows of court leaks and whispers. Rumors had circled for months, some too disturbing to make the news. But here he was, not as a polished actor or public figure, but as a witness with nothing left to lose. He didn't make eye contact, not with the judge, not with Diddy, not with anyone. He simply stepped forward and asked to speak. And the moment the judge gave him the floor, the temperature in the room changed. Because whatever Will Smith was about to say, it wasn't scripted, and it wasn't going to be easy to hear. Will didn't waste time. He began by explaining how it all started. Just another Hollywood party, or so he thought. The invitation came through a mutual contact, framed as a birthday celebration for Diddy. Nothing wild, just music, networking, familiar faces. Will had been to dozens of events like that, so he didn't question it. But the moment he arrived, he knew something was wrong. A mansion in the hills, SUVs lined the driveway, security everywhere. The second he walked in, his phone was taken. They said it was for privacy, but to Will, it felt like something else, like a warning. Inside, the atmosphere was cold and surreal. Dim lights, strange ambient music, mirrors on the walls. It didn't feel like a party. It felt like surveillance. That's when Diddy approached him, smiling. "Now you're part of the family," he said. But the way he said it, Will said it didn't feel like friendship. It felt like ownership. He followed Diddy to a back room, thinking they'd talk business. What he saw instead shook him. People performing, men, women, some familiar, some far too young. Others stood by watching like it was some kind of show. And Diddy? He laughed like it was just another Saturday night. Will paused in court, clearly shaken, before adding, "I didn't know how to leave." And that was the point. Once you're in, you're in. Days after the party, Will received a call. Blocked number. No greeting, just a voice that said, "Hope you had fun, Fresh Prince." Then it hung up. He tried to brush it off. Just a creepy prank, maybe. But then an envelope arrived at his office. No name, no return address. Inside was a flash drive. What was on it changed everything. Will almost didn't look, but curiosity won. The footage showed him on a couch that night, out of it, dazed, laughing at something he couldn't even remember. Then a voice behind the camera. Diddy's voice. "That's how we keep him." That moment, Will said, was when fear took root. He realized he hadn't been invited to a party. He'd been initiated. From there, the pressure built. More invites came. He declined. Then the consequences started. Projects vanished without explanation. People he had worked with for years suddenly went silent. Rumors began spreading online. Claims about his mental health, his marriage, his sexuality. He didn't need Diddy to say anything. The message was clear. Stay silent or pay the price. And so for years, Will did. He smiled through interviews, ignored the whispers, kept working. But every time a new story surfaced, Cassie, Meek Mill, Don Richard, he felt it. The weight of silence and the echo of that voice on the tape. Will's testimony didn't stop at his own experience. He told the courtroom this wasn't about one man or one night. It was about a system, a network of control that extended far beyond music. You couldn't walk onto a major stage, he said, without brushing shoulders with someone Diddy helped put there. He described elite Hollywood parties where tech giants, producers, and politicians all whispered respect to Diddy like he was more than a mogul, like he was the gatekeeper. One moment stuck with him. At a charity gala in 2016, he saw an executive hand Diddy a USB drive and say, "Only you have the final cut." Will didn't know what was on that drive, but he knew it confirmed what he had feared. Diddy wasn't just throwing parties. He was pulling strings. Will recalled how fellow celebrities acted around him. Nervous laughter, over-the-top flattery, like they were performing for survival. They weren't his friends, he said. They were his survivors. He admitted he'd stayed quiet because he feared being blackballed. Then it hit him. He already had been. Not publicly, not with headlines, but quietly. Studios stopped calling. Offers dried up. He wasn't being erased. He was being managed. And the scariest part? It wasn't just happening to him. For 2 decades, Will buried it all. The party, the footage, the fear. But that changed the day someone he once trusted made a chilling phone call. Will, you're on one of the tapes. They played it yesterday. People are talking. He didn't believe it at first. Then it all came rushing back. Flashes of memory, of the party, the blackout, the envelope. He couldn't deny it anymore. Whatever had happened that night wasn't just disturbing. It had been recorded. And now it was in the hands of the court. Behind closed doors, without press or jury, Will listened to the audio. His voice, slurred, distant, drugged, people laughing. Diddy, crystal clear, saying, "That's how we break them in." Will's name was being used in ways he couldn't even repeat in court. He said the pain wasn't just in what he heard, it was in what he didn't remember. "There's a difference between being embarrassed and being stripped of your humanity," he told the jury. "That tape, it took something from me." That moment broke the silence he had clung to for 20 years. He called the prosecution himself. "I'm ready," he said. "Ask me anything." Because he knew now, his silence wasn't just self-protection, it was complicity. The courtroom barely had time to process Will's testimony before the outside world exploded. Clips from the hearing went viral within minutes. Hashtags surged. Fikor, Will speaks, Artixian, the Diddy file, Der, She, Hollywood silence. For the first time, the public didn't see Will as a movie star. They saw him as a survivor. But the backlash came fast. Within 24 hours, 2 of Will's major endorsement deals were pulled. A studio paused promotion on his latest film. Anonymous texts and whispered warnings flooded in. "You don't know who you just declared war on. You've made yourself radioactive." Still, Will didn't back down. He told the court, "Let them come. I'm not here to protect myself anymore. I'm here to protect the truth." He didn't name names, but when the prosecution asked about other celebrities, Kevin Hart, Meek Mill, even Lucian Grange, Will nodded. "This isn't just a Diddy problem," he said. "It's an industry built on silence, and that silence is currency." He warned that more footage could surface, more stories, more victims. "They'll try to make me look broken," he said. "Let them. At least now I'm broken out loud." Then the courtroom fell silent as Will delivered one final line before stepping down. "Sometimes the truth comes late, but it still hits like thunder." Before Will left the stand, the judge gave him one final opportunity to speak, directly to Diddy. Will stood slowly, walked a few feet forward, and looked him dead in the eye. The room held its breath. "You built an empire out of manipulation," he said. "You called it culture, you called it success, but all you built was fear." Diddy didn't react. Not a word, not a blink. Just silence as his lawyer whispered frantically beside him. Will didn't stop. "I saw what you did to those girls. I saw what you did to me, and I heard the things you said when you thought no one was listening." Then Will pulled something from his pocket, an old photograph. It was him from 2004, smiling, bright-eyed, right before it all began. "This was me before the first party. I haven't seen this guy in years." He held it up for the jury, for the press, for everyone. "This isn't just about me or Cassie. This is about a network of power that thrives on silence. And if we don't tear it down, it'll never stop." Finally, he turned back to Diddy one last time. "You once said nobody parties like Diddy. Well, nobody lies like you either." Then he walked out. No wave, no statement, just a quiet exit after 20 years of silence, in a room that couldn't breathe. Will didn't speak to the press after leaving the courtroom. No interviews, no PR spin, just a man carrying the weight of 2 decades, walking out into the light. But outside, the world was erupting. Hollywood scrambled. Executives canceled meetings. Agencies paused deals. Publicists sent out frantic internal memos. Distance from Mr. Combs immediately. Overnight, people who once toasted Diddy at after-parties were deleting old photos and issuing generic statements of concern. But it was too late. The internet was already digging. Fans resurfaced clips of awkward interviews, parties that felt too staged, smiles that looked forced. People started seeing it, seeing him through a new lens. Even old footage of Will from the Fresh Prince era began circulating, with fans saying he'd been smiling through something all along. Will broke his silence once more. Just one post. A black and white photo of himself as a young actor on a set in 1993. The caption, "He didn't know what was coming, but he made it through. I'm proud of him." No tags, no names. Just that. And it hit harder than any headline. The response was overwhelming. Millions of likes, tens of thousands of comments. Survivors, especially men, sharing their own stories. One wrote, "If Will can speak, maybe I can too." Meanwhile, the courtroom gears kept grinding. Insiders whispered about more subpoenas, not just for artists, but for executives, label heads, and media giants. Tapes reportedly existed beyond audio, some visual, some implicating people no one dared to name. For now, they were sealed. But everyone knew, if even one of them leaks, it's over. Will hasn't returned to work. No red carpets, no press tours. Insiders say he's focused on his kids, rebuilding what matters. He's not pretending anymore, a friend told Variety. He's healing. Before adjourning, even the judge made a rare remark. What we heard today was not just testimony, it was a reckoning. And when the gavel fell, it wasn't Diddy's name people remembered. It was Will's.